Good afternoon, guys. My name is Milena. Welcome to our webinar. Today we're going to talk about very nice tenses, which is past tense and spatial structure used to. Also, today we will revise a little bit of irregular verbs, and I will share my personal secrets on how to remember the irregular verbs. Well, first of all, I wanted to tell you that a lot of you have probably thought, why do irregular verbs exist in English language? Probably just to create you a headache and some difficulties, but in reality it is not so. English language is a very old system, and in its evolution it appeared that some forms were changed, some of them stayed, and that is why we have such a big trouble with irregular verbs. The majority of them is regular now, but some of them stay irregular, and we will discover how to learn them. Let's get started. My beautiful assistant Nadia will help me, and we will start sharing a presentation with you. Before we begin our work, I wanted to tell you that our webinar is a sort of interactive activity. So you will need to work at home, set your tables. Please prepare paper and pencil or a pen, because you will need to make notes and do some exercises, especially some spelling exercises on irregular verbs. So let's get started. Okay, so past simple, irregular verbs, and used to is something that we have on our agenda today. Well, first of all, we all remember that past simple is used to talk about actions and situations that started and finished in the past, different main events of the story in the past, different past facts, such as your birthday, or the day you went to school, or the day you first kissed. He played in a band 2 years ago. I cooked dinner yesterday. It all started and finished in the past. What are the time expressions that can help you identify past simple? All the time expressions that help you to answer the question when. For example, when, yesterday, in June, in 1995, last night, last month, last Thursday, or last year. Please pay attention. In English language, we never use a preposition in front of last. A lot of students tend to make this mistake and say something like in the last year or in the last week. It's not correct. Last week, last year, last Thursday. Also, you can say something like 2 days ago, 1 week ago, a year ago, or so. Well, practically those are anytime expressions that help you answer the question when. Let's move on. A little bit more about the structure of this tense. Let's refresh it. The example, I went to school yesterday. So a positive sentence is made using the subject and the main verb ending ed if it's regular, or you use the second form of the verb in case it's irregular. I went to school yesterday. You went to school yesterday. Mike went to school yesterday. They went to school yesterday. Well, we can understand that for all the persons, the third person singular, I, you, he, she, it, we, they, we always use the same form of the verb, main verb with a D ending, if it's regular, or the second form of the verb in case it's irregular. Let's look at the negative sentence structure. I did not walk to school yesterday, logically, because I took a bus. As you can see, the negative form is constructed using the subject, the auxiliary verb did, a particle not, and the main verb in its infinitive form. I did not walk to school yesterday. You did not drive to work yesterday. Mike did not cook dinner yesterday. They did not go shopping yesterday. So as you can see, everybody, such as I, you, he, she, it, we, or they, did not do anything. The main verb comes in infinitive form, and please do not forget about the auxiliary verb did. I didn't watch a movie last night. It's another situation. I didn't play soccer yesterday. And here you have the example of negative contraction, did plus not, and you have a contracted form didn't with apostrophe. Let's move on. So, I don't sleep very well every night, you know. I slept well last night, but I didn't sleep well on Thursday night. Let's look at the question. Did Lori walk to work? As you can see, the question is formulated using the auxiliary verb did, which goes in front of the subject. Then you have the subject and then the main verb in its infinitive form. So, did Lori walk to work? Yes, she did. That is the short answer. Please never answer such as yes, because it's not the answer in English language. Yes, she did. She walked to work. Or you can answer negatively. Did Lori walk to school? No, she didn't. Again, I repeat that no is not the answer. To give a correct short answer, you need to say no, she didn't. She didn't walk to school. Did you practice the violin? Yes, I did. I practiced the violin. Did you practice the violin? No, I didn't. I didn't practice the violin. Well, talking about the verb to be, you all remember that the verb to be is very spatial. How is it spatial? It doesn't need any help. You don't use did with the verb to be. So, to ask a question, you ask me, were you at work yesterday? No, I wasn't. Actually, I was at home yesterday. As you can see with the verb to be, we don't use did. Let's move on. And now, as you can see, our favorite irregular verbs. Eat, ate, eaten. Let's have a look at them. Well, first, we have a little task for you. Let's try to remember the past form of the verb to come. So, I come home every afternoon. The past form is came. I came home this afternoon. What about go? Hope you remember that one. I go swimming every Tuesday. I went swimming last Tuesday as well. Talking about write. I write a letter to my grandmother every week. And in the past? Yes, I wrote a letter to her last week. I hope you remembered the past form of those verbs. And one more, break. That child breaks everything. And she broke my coffee cup. Terrible child. Again, another one, meet. I can meet you after school. And yes, they met in their English class. And one more, your favorite verb, sing. I hope you all like singing songs, like I do. So, I like to sing new songs, you know. And actually, I sang a new song last night. Begin. People usually begin college at age 18, at the age of 18. Surprisingly, she was a little bit late, so she began college at age 25. At the age of 25. So let's do the mini check of the second and the third form of the verbs, and at the same time I will show you a small algorithm, a small trick on how to remember them better, because we all agree that long list of verbs without any logics, without any structure or algorithm are quite difficult to learn. So let's have a look at those pairs of verbs. Buy, fight, grow, throw, bring, think, drive, ride. It's very nice to group the irregular verbs according to their sound, and it's much easier to remember them because they sound a little bit like a poem. So, buy, bought, bought. What about fight? Yes, you are right. Fought, fought. Let's have a look at grow, grew, grown. Now it's your turn. On your papers, please write down the three forms of the verb throw. Yes, threw, thrown. Let's have a look at bring. We remember the forms of bring, such as brought, brought. Now it's your turn to write down the forms of the verb think. Thought, thought. You are right. Let's have a look at drive and ride. The three forms of drive are drive, drove, driven. Now it's your turn to write down ride. Yes, it's rode, ridden. As you can see, those pairs of verbs, they follow the same algorithm. My recommendation to you is, please take a list of irregular verbs, work through this list, and distribute them into several categories according to how they sound. Try to find some similarities in them. It will be much easier for you to learn them. Now let's repeat the activity. I will project you another set of pairs of verbs. I will give you a couple of minutes to spell the forms of the verbs. Then we will check that, and at the same time, you will check your spelling, how you remember the spelling of those verbs. So, we have the verbs such as blow, draw, choose, and freeze, spend, and send, lead, and read. Again, the hint for you is that each pair of verbs follows the same algorithm. Take a couple of minutes to write down the forms. Okay, guys, I hope you are ready. Let's check. And I just wanted to remind you, in case you have some questions, administrative questions, technical questions, or you want to ask me something about the grammar, you can ask the questions online. We will see them and answer them in the course of our webinar. So let's check. Pay attention to the spelling. So, blow, blew, blown. Draw, drew, drawn. That is correct. I hope you've got good answers. Choose, chose, chosen. And freeze, froze, frozen. A very nice poem. Spend, spent, spent. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. When I was writing, I misprinted the last word. Please make the correction. Spent, spent. Two forms are the same. Terribly sorry. And send, sent, sent. And let's check the last one. Lead, led, led. And read, read, read. Please pay attention for those two verbs. The spelling is actually the same for all the forms, but the pronunciation is slightly different. Let's try again. Be, see, ring and sing, keep and spend, cut and cost. Try to find the similarity in algorithm of those verbs. Again, I give you 1 minute to write down the forms. Okay, guys, I'm back. Let's check our spelling. So, be, was, were, and been is the third form. And what about see? See, saw, seen. As we can see, the verb to be in the second form in past simple, it has a variation for you or we or they in the form of were, but the verb see, it doesn't have this variation. So we have only saw and seen. Let's continue. Ring, rang, rang. What about sing? Of course, it's the same algorithm. Sang, sung. Keep, kept, kept. And what about spend? Of course, it's spent, spent. And talking about cut and cost, I hope you all remember, those are our favorite irregular verbs because all the forms are the same. Cut, 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 and cost, cost, cost. Actually, one of our students has asked a question: what is the difference between the second and the third form of the verbs? Well, we must say that yes, in some cases, in spelling or pronunciation, there is no difference, but those are two different parts of speech which help us for different reasons. For example, the second form is just past simple and it is used only to formulate past simple. And if we look at the third form, the official name is past participle. We use it to formulate some tenses, you know some of them, such as present perfect or past perfect, you will know it later, the passive voice, the future perfect, well, actually all the perfect tenses. Yes, yeah, the passive voice for different tenses, and some other functions that you will learn a little bit later. So again, I repeat, just for you to remember that the second and the third forms represent two different parts of speech. For regular verbs, it's very easy because both of them are ed endings. For the irregular verbs, it's a little bit more difficult. And as you could see, some forms are the same for the second and the third form. I mean, in spelling or in pronunciation, and some of them are different. For example, ring, rang, rung, those are three different words, or sing, sang, sang, or see, saw, seen. Those are three different words. Let's move on, guys, shall we? So now a little task for you to practice questions and answers. Let's complete this little dialogue. Did you see your dad today? Yes, I did. And you need to finish the dialogue. I saw my dad today. So I will project you a little bit of similar pictures. Your job is to write down the sentences. Please remember that our task, our job today is interactive and we need to work actively. So now you need to write a question. Okay, guys, I'm back to the studio. I hope you managed to practice a little bit of questions and answers with the irregular verbs. We'll have a couple more pictures for you before we finish this session, speaking about the part of used to and the cases of usage of this structure. We will discuss it a little bit later at about 3:30, since we have run out of time a bit. So for those of you who want to join us for used to class, for the used to part, and practice a little bit more with past simple, I kindly ask you to join us at about 3:30. So let's work with this picture. Unfortunately, next time. My assistant tells me that unfortunately we don't have the link for that. We will do it next time. We will inform you accordingly, guys. It will be not in the far future, in the nearest future. Good. So I sent an email today, and the final picture. What did I do today? And we can see that this nice lady tells the gentleman the correct answer, which is you sent an email. Okay, guys. So I hope you managed to practice and you enjoyed our class. Again, I kindly ask you to return to our class for used to structure a little bit later. I'm back to the studio. Thank you so much for your kind attention. We've had a lot of participants today, and I hope it was useful for you. I really enjoyed having so many people in our class today. Please do not forget about the irregular verbs, practice them, and talking about the rest of the grammar. For those of you who are interested in zero conditional and the first conditional, probably the senior levels, the second level, the third level, and more, we will come back in nearly 1 minute to teach that class. Thank you so much and see you soon.